for anyone who's wondering, that camera over there is no longer a Minolta camera. That's a Minolata camera, according to my fiancé anyway, for future reference. Anyways, for the last year and a half, my photographic life has been almost entirely consumed by a project called Mellanrummet. It's a documentary series about the human traces in nature. And every single frame is shot in a long tonal grayscale. I spend 90% of my creative energy obsessing over shades of grey. So naturally, I'm the perfect person to sit here and give you a tutorial on color science. But I promise, I do make color photos sometimes as well. And whether you shoot wide open landscapes or you're just walking through an industrial estate on a Tuesday, understanding how colors interact is the fastest way to make your photos better. Today I want to show you exactly how color harmony works in the real world. And then I want to show you how I personally approach it. Hi, hello everybody, welcome back to a new video, hope you're all well. Right, color harmony. If you go look online, you will drown in wheels. Complementary, analogous, monochromatic, triadic, split complementary. Diagrams everywhere, like you're cramming for an exam. And all of that is real, but I want to start somewhere simpler. Because I think people sometimes get so busy trying to remember the names that they forget what those diagrams are actually trying to accomplish. Because the wheel doesn't answer the only question that matters when you're actually out in a field or on a quiet street. Out of everything in this frame, what is in charge? Good color isn't just about matching tones, it's about establishing an order. Every good color photo has 3 jobs being filled. We have the lead, it's the loudest, it's the thing your eye lands on first. Then the support, it backs up the lead without fighting it. And finally the accent, a small spark of contrast that wakes the whole thing up. Lead, support, accent, that's the entire framework. And here's the part that feels a little backwards. Good color isn't about having more color. It's about having fewer things that lead. Let me show you what I mean. When I'm framing a shot with a bright yellow building, I'm not thinking complementary colors. I'm thinking that yellow is the loudest thing here. That's my lead. Now everything else has to serve it. So what supports yellow best? The wheel says blue. Warm colors push toward you, cool colors fall back. The blue physically pushes the yellow forward and steps itself back. That's the complementary harmony, the loudest possible support. But here's where people get burned. If 2 complementary colors are equally strong in the frame, you don't get depth. You get a tug of war. 2 leads, no winner, the photo splits down the middle. The structure completely breaks down. You have to pick a winner, or I suppose you can call it abstract and hope that no one asks too many questions. That's what contrast does. It forces order through tension. But you don't always want tension. Sometimes you want the whole frame to agree. If a deep red object leads, the support doesn't have to be the opposite of that. It can be its neighbors. Warm brick, orange markers, colors that sit right next to each other on the wheel. Because there is barely any contrast between them, there is no friction in the image. Your eye never has to jump. It just glides. Complementary tells you where to look. Analogous harmony tells it it's allowed to rest. That glide is what your brain reads as mood. It feels thick and settled. But the balance is fragile here. Let one outsider in, drop a bright cool blue element into all of that warm, cohesive earth tone, and the mood is ruined. The blue steals the lead. Color harmony is really just a volume knob. You're choosing exactly how loud you want the room to be. You can quiet down the room by putting similar colors together, or you can quiet down the room by removing the other colors entirely. And then there's the one that scares people. What if there is only one color in the whole frame? If you look at the photos from my mellanrummet project, there is obviously no color contrast, but the structure doesn't disappear. It is just built entirely out of light. The lead is the brightest highlight or the heaviest shadow. Monochromatic harmony is exactly the same thing. It is basically grayscale that's allowed to be blue or amber or literally any single hue you want. In this frame there is no opposite hue to lean on. There is no warm light fighting the cold. The entire image is built from a single deep teal hue. Because you don't have contrasting colors to create depth, you have to rely completely on luminance. The massive dark silhouette of the mountain becomes the lead purely because it's the darkest point, while the lighter blue-grays of the water naturally fall back into a supporting role. You have to build a whole frame out of light instead of hue. And because of that, if the light isn't doing something interesting, a monochromatic frame just dies. You lose the safety net of color contrast. In my opinion, monochromatic is the hardest harmony to pull off. Properly, at least. But when you do it, it is incredibly atmospheric. So how do you actually apply this out in the real world? One question. When you look at the scene, what did your eye go to first before you started overthinking it? That's your lead. You don't choose it, you notice it. Then everything else just arranges itself around it. Does the support lead or does it compete with it? If it competes and it's not earning its place, you recompose until it doesn't. Whether you're zooming in, stepping closer with a prime lens, or just changing your angle, surgically crop out those competing colors right there in the camera, rather than trying to fix a messy composition later in Lightroom. Find what's loudest, protect it, quiet everything else down. But what do you actually get from working this way? Well, to me, it means you get control. You stop looking at a chaotic scene, hoping a good photo just magically happens, and you start actively managing the volume of the frame. When you understand what's allowed to lead, you stop guessing. You know exactly what the image is about. And more importantly, you know exactly what the image is not about. And that's really all we've been talking about today. Whether it's complementary colors, analogous colors, monochromatic scenes, or even black and white photography, the question never changes. What's the lead? What's supporting it? And what deserves to be an accent? But there's one catch. This whole framework depends on you being able to see the real hierarchy of the frame in the first place. You can't decide what's leading if the camera is quietly changing the cast of the light before you even looked at the photo. And that's where white balance comes in. Most cameras run auto white balance. It behaves like a little scientist living inside the camera, constantly trying to neutralize whatever is in front of it. Shoot in cool shade and it warms everything up to make it look more balanced. And here's the problem. In doing that, it's quietly reassigning the roles for you. That cold blue that originally caught your eye, the camera warms it toward neutral before you even had a chance to decide what role it should play. It isn't necessarily wrong, it's just making a creative decision on your behalf. So I don't use auto white balance. A long time ago, I set my OM5 to 5600 Kelvin, which is basically pure daytime, and I haven't touched it since. Why? Well, because I don't want the camera deciding what leads. I want to see the scene first, before the camera starts trying to make everything look neutral. If I'm shooting on a miserable overcast Tuesday morning, I want the raw file to look heavy and blue. If I'm standing in warm evening light, I want to see that warmth. Not because those colors are objectively correct, but because they are part of what caught my attention in the first place. I shot this lighthouse during blue hour. The air was cold, and the ambient light was heavily blue. If I let the camera neutralize that, it quietly hands the lead to something else. And the whole frame reorganizes around an order that was never really there. By locking to daylight, I can see what's actually in charge before I touch a single slider. The cold blue isn't a mistake to fix, it's the lead. My job in the edit isn't to fight it, it's to protect it. That's also why I ended up building my own preset pack. I needed tools that respected that 5600 Kelvin baseline instead of flattening it. Cold dawn blues, harsh afternoon warmth. The presets are designed to recognize the real light that's already there and gently lift the neutral hierarchy already sitting in the frame. If you want to try that workflow, you can find the link to my presets down in the description. Ultimately, there is no single right or wrong way to use color. It is a language, and the only thing that actually matters is your intent. Whether you build a loud complementary frame to force tension, or a quiet analogous frame to let the eye rest, whether you lock your white balance to 5600 Kelvin to protect the honest light of a miserable Tuesday morning, or you deliberately shift the colors to match a feeling, the goal isn't to memorize a color wheel. The goal is to know exactly what is allowed to lead your image. You want to manage the volume, so that every choice you make is intentional. Which, admittedly, is a lot of very big talk about color theory from a guy whose current portfolio is mostly just 50 shades of grey. Like I said, you're completely free to ignore everything I just told you. And actually, speaking of all that grey, as some of you know, that project Mellanrummet is finally going up on a real wall. A physical gallery exhibition, and it opens in just a couple of weeks. I'll be there in person both weekends all day, so if you're anywhere nearby, please come, genuinely. I'd love nothing more to just stand around and talk photography with you. And one quiet, no pressure thing, getting a body of work like this printed properly, the real do-it-justice kind of printing, isn't cheap. If you enjoy the channel and want to help cover some of those printing costs, I've left a Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description. But as I said, there's zero pressure. But as a thank you, everyone who ships in will get a high-res digital print of one of the main exhibition pieces. And to anyone who already has, thank you, truly. It means the world to me, honestly. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing. I appreciate it so much. But until next time, have a good day or evening, whenever you're watching this. Out!